In the previous video for this project, Project Stealth, I made this beauty panel for the subwoofer enclosure. In this video, we're going to continue this build by making this amplifier cover over the amplifier rack. I'm Mark, welcome to CarAudioFabrication. Let's get on into it. To get things underway here, the first thing I need to do is I'm going to measure this area up here above the amplifiers, and I'm going to cut a board to that approximate size. Now I want to make sure that I capture that geometry up there because I'm going to be using this part of the standoff in order to mount this back area for the amplifier rack cover. So I'm going to remove the subwoofer cover. So I've sketched out the material that I need to remove from this piece, and I've used some double-sided template tape. And just in case this is one of your first videos seeing this kind of fabrication process, I'm using double-sided template tape along with these templates from my show sponsor, Mobile Solutions, and I'll be using them with this 1/4-inch flush trim bit right here. The bearings on top will ride against the templates, and the cutter below will cut the wood to shape. So now that I have the basis of the amplifier rack cover made here, I need to map out where my amplifiers and processor are in relation to that board. So I know where to make my cool cutouts for the beauty panel. So I'm going to measure a bunch of different measurements here and transfer them over to the piece of wood. So I've marked out all of the dimensions for the amplifiers and processor, amplifier here, processor in the middle. And what I want to do is I know that I want to cut out, and I'm going to use a similar shape like I did over the subwoofers, but here's the problem. So if I use this exact same shape, you can see that I have open area right here where you would be able to basically see that wiring. And I don't really want to see the wiring. I kind of want to hide all of that and just really show off the equipment. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the shape in about this location here, but I'm going to make a new shape by adding this going across. Basically, I'm going to remove this part of the shape. I'll just be using this cutout here and then this outside perimeter, with this being the outside line. So to do this, I'm going to start with copying the combination of these shapes to a piece of 1/4-inch material. Let's drop some templates like they're hot and get on to it. Here it is, my friends. What do you guys think? I do want to point out that there's kind of two different ways that you can approach this viewing window idea for, highlighting different gear in a build. You could just make the shapes like exactly match, where they're more rectangular and they really show off the whole piece of equipment. But I like kind of doing this because I feel like it blends more with the install. You can see though, I am actually cutting off the view of part of each of the amplifiers. The full processor, for the most part, is going to be able to be seen. But do keep in mind, I'm gonna have some acrylic around the outside. I'm also gonna have some molded metal mesh, so it's not like this is just gonna be a big open hole. But I wanna know what you guys out there in the Fabrication Nation think. Do you guys pick option number 1, where you completely cut out and show the full shape of the gear, or do you prefer option 2, where you only partially show the gear? That way your hole cutout better matches the rest of the design of the build. Let's move on to using this new shape that I've created to cut the hole in the amplifier rack piece. Now, if you guys remember when I made this beauty panel over the subwoofers, I also added this groove around that cutout shape. And the reason for this groove is so that I can transition from my wrapping upholstery vinyl to the painted area and have a nice, clean, crisp line to cut. I'm going to do the same thing to the amplifier beauty panel. So while this is temporarily attached with the template tape on top, I'm going to make that groove. And for reference, some of you guys were asking in the last video what router bit I used for this. I'll drop a link down in the video description. And as always, guys, you should know in all my videos, I always drop a list of the different stuff that I'm using down below. Had to do a little test fit here in the vehicle, and I am excited about this one. Now, if you remember on the subwoofer beauty panel, I added that chamfer. Let's get that added to this as well. Real quick, before we get to that chamfer though, I do have this small roundover bit already loaded in my router. So in order to soften up these edges, I'm gonna run that real quick first. With that chamfer added to the front, it really gives us a nice, much more interesting look. Now on the front side here, remember that I've added this groove, and that allows me to cut the transition between my upholstery vinyl and then the Duratex hard coating paint that I'm gonna use to protect this wood. And if I flip this over, what I wanna do is that upholstery vinyl is gonna wrap around this edge to the back side here. So I also wanna give myself a nice ridge that I can use in order to perfectly cut that upholstery material. So I'll be using this right here. This is the rabbiting bit. Let's get it made. Got everything put back in the vehicle now above the amplifiers. As you can see, I've got the acrylic in here and it's just sitting in here loose right now, so it's not lined up perfectly. The only thing I really need to do now is I just need to add a couple of fasteners in this location here. This is simple enough. I'll be using the same methods that I used in order to secure the beauty panel that's up above the subwoofer, so you can see that here on screen where I'm using these wooden threaded inserts. Now on this end of the panel here, on these standoffs, I'm going to be doing something a little bit differently. I'm actually going to be using magnets. The reason I'll be using magnets here is I'm kind of thinking ahead. I'm going to be able to hide all of these fasteners easily, but this panel, I'm actually going to make it into one big piece with the cover piece here, and I'm not going to be able to hide the fasteners on this end as well, so I'm going to use magnets. That way you'll never see them. So if you guys want to make sure that you see that video in the future where I incorporate the magnets, I would love to have you as a subscriber. In the meantime, you can watch the rest of this build if you've missed some of the early videos here on screen, along with some of my other videos. A special thanks goes out to John, Brian, Ali, Billy, Steve, Jerry, Emmanuel, and the rest of the Patreon membership team. A big thanks to those guys for helping with the making of these videos. If you want to learn more about the team, check it out down below. As always, my friends, thank you guys for watching.